Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Village of Bartlett Committee of the Whole meeting for December 15th, 2020. I call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to again please call the roll.
Trustee Carbonaro,
Yes, here.
DEYNE,
Here.
Gansey,
Here.
Hopkins,
Here.
REINKE,
Present.
Swansky,
Here.
President Wallace.
Present. First item we have under our committee meeting this evening is Building and Zoning, Chairman REINKE.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a proposal for a 436,000 square foot warehouse with 4 rental spaces and some office space, very much like the project that we saw not too long ago in the Cook portion of Brewster Creek. They're looking for some variances, including parking, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, and docks in the side yard. And so with that, like to turn it over to Roberta Grill.
Thank you, Trustee REINKE. This is your second review of this proposed 435,000 square foot warehouse building. They have been to both the Plan Commission for site plan review and to the Zoning Board of Appeals for their variation requests. The Plan Commission recommended approval at their November 12th, 2020 meeting. And the Zoning Board reviewed the variation requests for parking, reduced parking, and parking loading docks in the corner side yard at their meeting on December 3rd, 2020, and held the public hearing. The Zoning Board also recommended approval of these variation requests. And I do believe the petitioners are on the Zoom call tonight, and that concludes my presentation.
Are there any questions from the committee?
I don't have any. I know that we've looked at this once before, and or maybe this is the third and it's maybe the third time after concept. So I certainly don't have any questions. Does anyone?
No.
No.
No, I do not.
All right, so unless there's any objections, we'll move this matter forward to the village board for a final vote.
Very good.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. That's all we have for building and zoning tonight.
Thank you, Chairman REINKE. Next, final item we have this evening, and the final item for this illustrious 2020 year that we will all be gathered as Finance and Golf Chairman DEYNE.
Thank you, Mr. President. Like I said, the only item on the agenda is the 2021 6-month budget review. So Todd, you've got the ball. You can run with it.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so we started out this year passing the budget in April, right after the pandemic lockdown, and we weren't really sure what was going to happen, but we put in a plan to hold back on spending as much as possible and put a freeze on other things and do what was necessary. And so this is where we're at with 6 months. It didn't get as bad as we thought. We thought for a while there that property taxes would be held up, income taxes would be a problem. But with different things that came through, we really didn't have that much of a problem with the revenue. Just to talk about this report here. So the column starting on the left and going to the right, we've got our annual budget for the year, and then our year-to-date, that's through October, 6 months, percent of the budget that we've used so far, and then I've projected out where we'll be at the end of the year, and then our overall budget that we would be, overall over the budget where we would end up. So as far as revenue goes, we're projecting to end up at $24,687,000. That would be $503,000 over budget. A big part of this is that we did receive $1,268,000 from DuPage County for the CARES Act funding. We just received that in October, and so that was a big boost. At the beginning of the year, we didn't know if we'd be getting any kind of funding like that. So the $1,268,000 was quite a boost from DuPage County.
I'd just like to jump in there, Todd. I'm not sure if all of the trustees know this, but it was a major ordeal putting together the information requesting those funds back. And I think we had to go through a couple of different whacks at it. So I just want to congratulate staff on all that work. That was a tremendous amount of work putting together those numbers, trying to find every little nook and cranny that we could submit to get reimbursed. So with that being said, I just want to congratulate staff on an excellent job.
Yeah, that is the maximum allocation from DuPage County. So we were able to get the maximum unless they distribute more or get another funding source. Cook County, about $144,000 is what we will be receiving from Cook County. So as I mentioned, income taxes, we haven't really seen a variation from income taxes. A lot of that is due to the extra $600 a week that was given for unemployment. That was the income tax was collected on that. We do think that sales tax is going to be down about $250,000 or 10% on the year. Home rule sales tax could be as much as 20% down or $390,000. Those are pretty conservative, though. Like I said earlier, we were only down about $60,000 in sales tax so far. So those are a little conservative. Gaming tax down about $125,000 if we're down 50%. We're also down a little bit in permits, fines, and interest income has gone way down as the interest rates. So what we gain on the bond side, we lose on the income side. Another big surprise income is the transfer stamps. We could be up $400,000 due to a lot of commercial activity. Out in the Brewster Creek, when they sell those buildings, they've gained the attraction of investors, and so we have quite a few sales in the industrial park. We could be up $400,000. I think Paula sent something out in the Friday 5 this last week or so in regard to the transfer tax. And use tax with all the online shopping up could be up 18% or $270,000. So that's where our projected revenue comes from. On the expense side, the biggest variation from the budget is the police department. I've got it listed as being $550,000 under budget. DUCOM waived 1/4 of their fees. They adjusted their fund balance policy. That was about $175,000 savings to us. That's our 911 emergency service. Police department is also down without not having the 4th of July, so that cut down on the overtime. They usually spend a lot of time on the national night out, so we didn't have that as well. Crossing guards have not been in service due to schools meeting online. We've also delayed the cost of living and merit increases for personnel where we could. Professional development has been down, or with staff meeting online or professional development meeting canceled altogether. So overall, projecting expenses to be down $731,000. So that would put us at the general fund at $466,000 in the positive. So we had budgeted to use $768,000 of fund balance, but we could end up in the positive $460,000.
And that is great news.
Yeah, that is very good news. So, moving on to the water fund, then, another result of the pandemic is people were staying home. We actually had water usage up about 10% over the summer. So on the operating revenue side, because of the increased sales, I'm projecting to be about $400,000 over budget. On the operating expense side, we do pay for the water from DuPage Water Commission, so we are projecting to be a little bit over budget, $64,000 over budget on the expense side. So our projected year-end, $2 million in operating income. That's about what our capital projects are for this year, $2 million. So we will not projecting to use any cash balances for the water projects this year. On the sewer side, we didn't increase the rate that was planned for the May 1 sewer fund, so we are under budget. Sewer revenue is up compared to last year, but we are under budget. We had budgeted to increase sewer revenue by $1,130,000, so that's why we are showing about $964,000 under budget, even though revenue is up. But we are still doing good in sewer. Overall operating income is about $2 million, just like the water fund. We are using $1 million in the sewer cash balance. We have about $3 million in capital outlay this year. Parking fund is another one of our operating funds. Normally, we have about $230,000 in revenue. Through halfway, we have $11,137. So the as you drive by the parking lots, there's not a lot of people parking there. So a generous estimate of $30,000 would be at the year end. We're holding off on capital improvements. We didn't seal the parking lots, things like that, but we'll still have a deficit just from the salaries, parking maintenance, services, contract services. So we'll be about $117,000 short on the parking fund. And the golf fund, the top row there, the golf course, that shows the rounds of golf. So through October, $1,144,000. That was about our total from the prior year. So we are up quite a bit. We're up $198,000 in golf rounds and other revenue compared to last year at this time. So we're looking to actually be over budget in the golf course for rounds of play, about $60,000. Restaurant, banquet, those revenues are not doing so well. As we had budgeted, $158,000 in restaurant, $757,000 in banquet. We're going to be at about just $100,000, $120,000. Our special events that we've been having, that's what's showing in the banquet line. So we're projecting up to $120,000 in that kind of revenue. Midway was at $112,000 through October, and we're expecting end at about $129,000. So the big revenue loss is the banquet. We had a good year booked for this year that didn't work out. The staff has been working to reschedule those events and move them as much as possible. On the expense side, we are trying to keep the expenses down as much as possible. As you can see, we're under in all those areas, about $395,000 overall. But at the end, we're looking at projecting $208,000 loss in the golf fund just for operating expenses. So that's it in a nutshell. That's the quick 6-month review for our operating funds. If there's any questions or comments?
I just wanted to address one thing. The loss in revenue at the golf course is mainly attributed to the restaurant banquet facility.
Mm-hmm. I would say it's nearly entirely attributed to the fact that we had to cancel events due to COVID. We were, I think, almost entirely booked for this year. Scott knows those numbers better than I do.
Yeah, Paula, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
One important thing to point out is that last year we had 27 weddings. And this year we projected a very large increase of 41. So certainly while the money's not there, the trend was up. And as of right now, we have 48 weddings on the books for next year. So in the course of a year, a lot of it has been rescheduling and shifting. We've gone from 27 weddings to 48 next year.
And we found out this week that we won the Knott Award again for our banquet facility. And because this is the 4th year that we've won that award, we are officially in the Knott Magazine
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame.
Top 1%, yeah.
Yeah.
And golf outings suffered also because of the fact we couldn't do anything with the food and beverage portion of it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We have 48 weddings scheduled or 48 weddings projected for 2021?
We have 48 scheduled for 2021 that's currently on the books. Obviously, scheduling versus projected is a little different given what we're facing, but we do have 48 scheduled on the books.
Anyone else? Okay, Mr. President, that's all we had for this evening. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Todd.
I would just add on the, certainly on the banquet side of the situation out there, I know every effort's been made to trim down staff. It's kind of a really difficult situation when you want to maintain, you had some momentum going. We're going in, just to reiterate, 27 weddings last year, and this year they were budgeting during our fiscal year, which is May, right? May to April, 41. And we were well on track to hit that, which means that finally we would have, I think we would have paid off the expansion of that facility. So it's a tough numbers to look at, but I truly believe with the changes and the moves and the professionalism that we have running that banquet facility, that once this pandemic passes us, that we are going to trust in our employees out there, and I think we'll start really making it work. It really, really pains me to see the losses because I knew we had momentum going. But again, push on. Everybody has to kind of pull together and try to get through this and try to be as frugal as we possibly can, both on golf and banquets throughout the winter time.
Yeah.
And try to get into the spring with some bookings.
It's
One last
credit, Ray. It's just a real credit, Mayor, to the staff out there. We book them in the winter so that they can happen in the summer. So, or a year from now. So they've really been hustling, not only to, keep the ones that we had from 2020, but to fill those empty dates that we had on the calendar. And they've really, really been doing a great job. And I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Paula. That's what I wanted to say also. And in closing on this, I just want you to know you have a good committee chairman for the golf portion of that also, okay? So just want to throw that in.
Do we think that they'll have to change up their budget, like maybe for marketing or advertising the banquet facilities? Because I feel like once things start opening up, you can kind of foresee people are going to want to do things. Are we going to have to, are we going to take a look at how to get our name out there so we get...
Trustee Gansey, I can address that point. Sure. We're pretty knee deep in Google Analytics, okay, and the Wedding Wire. And to be frank with you, given the sheer amount that we have booked for next year, I don't think marketing is going to be our issue. It's going to be getting staff in and making sure that we can accommodate the events that we have. And of course, word of mouth is always the most important component.
Yeah, and speaking from experience, there's a lot of inter-county rules that are different. I had a nephew that was supposed to get married in Kane County. They closed all banquet facilities 2 weeks before the wedding. They had to run over to Tinley Park to get another convention hall to have the wedding. I myself have rescheduled a wedding from August 10th of last year to August of this year. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to celebrate it, because I don't think we can carry it forward another year, but everybody's rescheduling. So I'm sure it'll be a bang up year next year.
I am just ready to get out. I'm ready to throw my own banquet for anything.
Absolutely. I think we all are.
Yeah,
I think we all are.
I think we discussed having Christmas in July, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. Aren't we supposed to do something with that Christmas thing? Was that the village related? Are we doing anything with our little banquet deal? Maybe I'm getting things mixed up. I've got so many changes going on with my Christmas events. You're muted.
No, we're not doing anything in terms of Christmas this year.
Just
No
Rotary.
Christmas?
Christmas is canceled for the village.
Christmas is canceled, Paula?
Well, primarily that saves a lot of money, but I tell you what, once this pandemic is over, I'm going to personally spearhead some kind of a gathering of the group and celebrate, be ridding of 2020. So
That'll be a great celebration.
yeah. Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
For such a lot of work this year. Leadership is way harder than it was in previous years. There's a lot of people that are hurting out there, and all of us can kind of pull together and provide some type of sense of stableness. And I thank our village for doing that as well. The staff in the village doing that very well. I thank the chief, who is under so much pressure this year with all that was going on. I just think him and the entire department, police department, did a tremendous job. So Chief, thank you so much for all your hard work and a lot of the interesting comments that were being flung around. I really appreciate your professionalism and your whole staff, the way they handle. I get way more compliments than I do anything else. So you're doing it right.
Thanks, Mayor. I appreciate it.
Yep. And Dan, your folks too. Congratulations on a good year. I know it's you've done a really good job of a lot of rhetoric about a lot of problems that we have with the brush pickup. Seems to be the most prominent one. We still got to get a handle on that. At some point, we've got to do something about brush pickup, but
Those bids are on the street this week, right, Dan?
Yeah, they're out the bid right now. So we'll
right,
be
we're
bringing it to you
figure
next
that
month.
out. And traffic studies, again, I just appreciate all of you all the trustees and staff's leadership. And it means a lot to our village that we maintain a unified force against what's going on out there. And I think we've done a great job of that. So well done.
Thank you, Mayor. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize you and your championing of the municipal perspective on regional calls and statewide calls. And, I think you've had a earpiece in your ear constantly since March,
Yes.
just on constant calls and really putting up the good fight for us. And I think it's important that you're recognized as well.
Thank you, Madam Administrator. And it's been tough. I've had to swallow a lot of words because I was very, very anxious, or not anxious, but I was very, very irritated of how it was handled at the beginning. And I'll be the first to admit that I learned a ton, not only about this pandemic, but about diplomacy and how we can best get things completed. But I still think that we also, in certain situations as a village, need to stand our ground. And I think we've done a good job of moderating that. And trying to stand up for our businesses and do whatever we can and our next fight right now, ladies and gentlemen, or not fight, but our next challenge is to work on how swiftly we can get things pushed through to get back open safely. So we're kind of over that hill now of what's going on. So you'll see a lot of stuff coming out about how some of the organizations like DuPage Mayors and Managers and the Metro Mayor's Caucus and those organizations working with the governor's staff to try to get to these next phases, to get to the next level here. So again, thank you all very much for your leadership. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Thank
So
you.
moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee DEYNE, seconded by trustee Sawanski. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Carbonaro,
Yes.
DEYNE,
Yes.
Gansey,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
REINKE,
Yes.
Swansky.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Merry Christmas,
Merry
everyone.
Christmas,
Merry
everyone.
Christmas.
Everyone, Merry Christmas and
Happy holidays. Stay safe and healthy.